be interesting to understand, how has cocoa industry evolved in past few years?
Yeah, I
Can you
think,
give an
well, I
insight?
can mostly speak for the specialty market because we are not really in the bulk market. But what we see
Right.
is that it's I compare it a bit like with the tendency that we saw 10 years ago in coffee. So when
Mhm.
specialty coffee came on the scene, in fact, we saw a really almost explosion of very small local craft coffee roasters
Chocolate. Yeah.
that really it multiplied very quickly. And in fact, what we see now in cocoa is the same. So we see a lot of new companies starting up with specialty cocoa. In many occasions, they're really small. So we know that craft specialty coffee roasters are small, but the cocoa average size of a craft chocolate maker is even smaller than a craft coffee maker, from my analysis. So this is really one movement that we see as new startups, and these are really people who are very explorative for special qualities and so on, but also very much linked with a sustainable market. So they really want to know all the details of the product, certainly because the cocoa market doesn't have such a nice image. And the other movement that we see is that traditional chocolate makers who are already for so many years in chocolate, but who used to start from couverture, are I would not say transforming, but are exploring the possibilities to start up next to their general business, like a small bean to bar line, to explore a bit on flavor and so on. And some are really like amazed and really bring this to the next level to scale.
Super.
And some, yeah, just do it as just to test it out, and they stay a bit more, yeah, how to say, as a waiting attitude. It's
Cocoa
moving.
industry over past few years has started moving, isn't it?
Yeah, it started moving, but it's at a speed that is slower than was expected, because in fact already the last 5 years they're saying like, okay, the specialty scene will grow, but okay, I think today the last numbers of the FCCI, the Fine Cacao and Chocolate Institute, is still that it's about 1% of the market. So the share is still very
1%.
small.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still very small, but it is growing. It's growing steadily. We get like every week we get new requests, startups and so on. So things are really moving, but it will take time to make it more mature. And then of course, yeah, with the impact of COVID, many startups are really had a hard hit. So the question, of course, will be what will be their profitability, and will they be able to continue the growth of their business for the coming years. So I think, as similar as with coffee, we also had a type of selection of all these new coffee roasters, and some who did it really professionally with a solid business plan, continued and had a good growth, and others were not able to survive. So it, my estimate is that there will be a natural filter as well on the profitability of certain companies, and maybe not all can continue. But it definitely sets a tendency that quality standards, from my analysis, will go up because this movement is there.
Uh, what makes your cocoa more sustainable, let's say, and what are the programs you have been developing at your sourcing countries?
So mostly, when I started studying the whole cocoa sector and traveling and seeing and observing to define what we wanted to do, I think the biggest challenge the sector is that quality is not valorized. So if you go to a regular farmer, okay, we are not, for certain reasons, we are not active in Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana, which are the bulk countries, but for example, the neighbor countries, and you know them very, very well, Cameroon, Togo, it's mostly as well bulk countries. But basically, for the farmer, there is no single trigger to produce quality, because the market does not pay a single cent for that. So for me, this is a part of the biggest cause of the problems that we have. Because if a farmer is not valorized for quality, the only trigger to do better would be more quantity. And of
Yeah.
course, the more quantity will bring other problems like deforestation and so on. So at the core of our activities, there is always a basis for better quality. And if we are able to do that, so we do really strict controls on quality. This means that at the level that you would control specialty coffee, so we really control the fermentation processes to have a better quality. So if you, I don't know until which extent you're known with cacao quality, but mostly within the, I would say, fine flavor sector, we say of the final quality of cocoa beans you have, 30% is linked to the genetics and the terroir, and 70% is linked to the post-harvesting. So if you are able to do a very controlled and disciplined post-harvesting, you will substantially upgrade your quality. So that's basically how we start. So we start from post-harvesting and quality control throughout the chain, as such that we can create a better product. As soon as we have this better product, we are able to pay a better price for that. So this is basically the start of our solution, to already give better prices to the farmers, which will then give them better income, which will then avoid any other possible problems due to poverty. And then next to that, depending on the region, we look a bit at the context of certain regions, like do they have a problem for example, access to finance? So we pre-finance some producers as well, or do they have a problem, rather on the ecological side? Sometimes we work on projects like, for example, Dominican Republic and also in Guatemala for conservation of forest areas. So basically, it starts from this quality to pay better prices, and then it's like a more context-driven approach based on the problems that the suppliers or the farmers that we work with face.
Thank you so much on this whole insight into the cacao industry.